The courtroom is supposed to be the place where truth becomes clearer, not messier. But in this case, the opposite may be happening. A ruling described online as a complete legal shock has ignited arguments about family rights, legacy, and who truly owns a public name after tragedy. Did a judge really step in to separate a widow from her husband's identity? And if so, what evidence led to something this drastic? Before we break this down step by step, I want to hear from you. If you care about stories where justice and emotion collide, please like this video, share it, and subscribe so you never miss an update. Then head to the comments and tell me, what's your take on name legacy battles in court? And where are you watching from? At the center of today's story is a legal dispute that erupted after the death of a well-known public figure, Charlie Kirk. The case being discussed across American media is not about the crime investigation itself, but about the courtroom fight over his name and image. According to reports circulating online, Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow and current CEO of Turning Point, USA became involved in a battle with members of the Kirk family concerning how she represents Charlie in public and commercial projects. Name rights cases like this are rare, and they matter because they test an uncomfortable question. When a person becomes both a loved one and a brand, where does family grief end and corporate control begin? Supporters of Erika argue she is preserving her husband's mission. Other voices claim the biological family should have greater authority over Charlie's legacy. The ruling referenced in the title has therefore become a symbol for something bigger than one household. It reflects how modern courts handle identity after tragedy. What we will examine is how the dispute reached a judge, what legal standards apply to posthumous names, and why the public is reacting so intensely to every statement from Erika and Charlie's parents alike. Every true crime story is ultimately a story about people, not just events written on legal paper. The first name viewers know is Charlie Kirk, a political activist whose influence reached far beyond his hometown. Friends described him as driven, stubborn about his vision, and deeply protective of his parents. Catherine and Robert Kirk. Those who followed his career saw him transform from a young organizer into the face of a national movement. Then there is Erika Kirk, the widow who stepped into leadership of Turning Point USA after Charlie's death. Public appearances show a woman speaking confidently about mission and faith, often referring to the organization as her chosen family. That phrase has become one of the most analyzed lines in this entire dispute. To supporters, it sounds like gratitude. To critics, it signals distance from her in-laws. Catherine and Robert Kirk, Charlie's parents, represent the other side of the emotional divide. They lost a son they had known his whole life. And reports suggest they were uncomfortable with how quickly fundraising events and book promotions began. In legacy battles, parents are not just relatives. Legally, they can be interested parties whose voices influence a judge's decision. We also hear from former employees and media commentators who have fueled public debate. One of them is a man named Joshua Peterson, whose recorded statement included in the script reflects how insiders can shape online perception. Testimony like that does not replace court evidence, but it often explains why a story refuses to settle down. Understanding these characters is essential because the chapters ahead are about relationships strained by grief, leadership mixed with branding, and a judge forced to interpret both law and loyalty. To understand the courtroom drama, we need to follow the timeline carefully. It begins shortly after Charlie Kirk's passing, when the immediate grief of the family collided with public attention. Fundraising events were announced, interviews conducted, and media appearances by Erika Kirk began almost immediately. These activities while legal drew the scrutiny of Charlie's parents and the public alike. Weeks later, the name usage dispute surfaced in legal filings. Reports suggest that the Kirk family raised concerns about commercial projects that used Charlie's name and image. At the same time, supporters of Erika argued that her leadership of Turning Point USA gave her legitimate authority to continue his mission. Memorial events became flashpoints. Public ceremonies, book promotions, and media interviews were interpreted differently by both sides. While Erika emphasized chosen family and organizational continuity, Charlie's biological family remained largely silent in the media, which observers interpreted as tension. As months passed, the courtroom filings became more formal. Judges were asked to consider legacy rights, trademark usage, and posthumous identity protection. Each hearing included written submissions from attorneys representing both the widow and the parents, and observers online began documenting every statement and motion. By the time the ruling referenced in our title appeared, the conflict had already been ongoing for months, a mix of public grief, media scrutiny, and legal maneuvering that set the stage for what many described as a courtroom bombshell. As the courtroom proceedings unfolded, the public reaction was immediate and intense. Online communities, social media commentators, and news outlets debated the fairness of the dispute. Some viewers sided with Erika Kirk, emphasizing her role in continuing Charlie's work and leading Turning Point USA. Others criticized her actions, arguing that the Kirk family's voices were being overshadowed and that grief should not be monetized or politicized. Allegations began circulating about motives and financial gain. Some online voices suggested that fundraising events and media promotions could be viewed as benefiting Erika personally, while supporters pointed out that revenue went to organizational projects aligned with Charlie's legacy. These conflicting narratives created a charged atmosphere where facts and speculation often blurred. Meanwhile, questions about family dynamics drew attention. Observers noted how frequently Erika referred to chosen family versus her in-laws, sparking discussion about perceived respect and recognition, though no charges or legal findings supported these interpretations. They fueled online debate and added layers of intrigue to the courtroom story. Crucial to distinguish confirmed legal facts from public opinion. The court documents provide the official record, while social media commentary shows how perception can amplify tension, sometimes beyond what the law actually dictates. In high-profile disputes like this, insiders and former employees often provide crucial context, not as proof, but as insight into the personalities and organizational dynamics at play. Statements from former Turning Point USA staff and public commentators have shaped the narrative surrounding the courtroom drama. One insider, Joshua Peterson, claimed to have knowledge of internal decisions and organizational behavior, describing tensions and disagreements that predated the legal filings. While his comments are not evidence in court, they illustrate why some observers question the timing and presentation of events. These insider perspectives reveal how decisions were made in the organization after Charlie's passing, conflicts between personal grief and organizational responsibility, perceptions of fairness, loyalty, and influence among those involved. A careful true crime analyst notes that such testimony is interpretive rather than factual. It can guide viewers toward understanding motives and interpersonal dynamics, but it cannot replace verified documents or judicial rulings. In courtroom battles over names, legacies, and estates, insider voices can sway public perception, sometimes more than the legal outcome itself. And in this case, they've added layers of tension that ripple far beyond the courtroom. Beyond the courtroom, The way the parties presented themselves in public became a story in itself. Media appearances, interviews, and social media posts all contributed to how the dispute was perceived. Analysts noted several key patterns. Positioning in photographs and video often showed Erika at the forefront, with the organization's events dominating coverage, while Charlie's parents remained in the background or absent entirely. Repeated language choices, such as referring to Turning Point USA as a chosen family, were dissected by commentators, suggesting distance from her in-laws. Interview framing highlighted messaging control. Questions about Charlie's parents or legacy were sometimes deflected, emphasizing organizational achievements instead. From a true crime perspective, this is important because optics can shape public narrative almost as strongly as legal documents. While the court focuses on evidence, the court of public opinion responds to tone, body language, and messaging. Every appearance feeds speculation about loyalty, motives, and influence, creating the sense that the courtroom drama extends far beyond legal walls. Understanding these optics helps viewers distinguish between what is legally binding and what is publicly perceived. A crucial skill for anyone following complex disputes. Financial activity often attracts as much attention as legal filings in high-profile disputes. In this case, reports indicate that Turning Point USA and related projects generated significant revenue in the months following Charlie Kirk's passing. Supporters say this was necessary to continue the organization's work, while critics question whether it crossed a line into personal gain. Allegations included fundraising events, some with high-ticket prices, media appearances tied to book promotions, revenue claims circulating online, often unverified. From a true crime perspective, the lesson is clear. Financial patterns can influence perception even when no crime has occurred. Insider, testimony, and publicly available filings help analysts distinguish between legitimate organizational income and speculative accusations of profiteering. It's important to note that the court's ruling on name usage does not automatically validate or invalidate these financial claims. Instead, the dispute centers on who has the legal authority to represent the name and legacy of Charlie Kirk in public and commercial contexts. Financial transparency or the lack of it amplifies the tension between public opinion and legal reality, demonstrating how closely money, media, and family dynamics intertwine in modern legacy disputes. Even after a courtroom ruling, many questions remain unanswered. In this case, observers are asking, what are the precise limits of Erika Kirk's rights to use Charlie Kirk's name? How will this ruling impact Turning Point USA's projects moving forward? What legal precedents does this case set for posthumous identity rights and family disputes? How will future fundraising and media appearances need to be adjusted to comply with the court? True crime analysts understand that these questions are not speculation, they are legal. Inquiries grounded in documented rulings. While the public often focuses on drama, the real story lies in understanding how courts navigate legacy, intellectual property, and family authority. These unanswered questions also highlight a broader lesson, even in disputes centered on names and legacies. Courts balance law, fairness, and the rights of multiple parties. And every ruling has ripple effects far beyond the courtroom walls. As we've followed this complex courtroom dispute, it becomes clear that legacy, grief, and legal authority can collide in unexpected ways. Erika Kirk, Charlie's widow and organizational leader, now faces clear legal boundaries regarding the use of his name. Meanwhile, Charlie's parents retain their own rights and perspectives, reminding us that family dynamics remain central to these decisions. This story is not just about personalities or headlines. It is about how the law navigates posthumous identity, family interests, and organizational control. It demonstrates how financial decisions, media appearances, and insider statements can shape public perception, even when legal rulings provide definitive answers. For viewers, the takeaway is simple. In disputes over legacy and identity, facts matter, rumors do not, and careful attention to court records is essential. As new developments unfold, the courtroom will remain the ultimate arbiter, not social media or public speculation. Before we end, I want to hear from you. What do you think about the balance between a widow's authority and biological family rights? Comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on complex cases like this.